the invisible world, the tiny beings that govern the planet, and why everything depends on them.
Look at a forest, a coral reef, a herd of animals, and you are seeing the smallest part of life. The living world does not run the large trees you can see. It runs on the one if everything would die. They made the airy, they feed everything that lives.
Chapter 1. The Invisible World in Charge.
Start with the numbers, because they are almost impossible to believe. There are more bacteria on Earth than there are stars in the observable universe. Around 1,000 spoon of healthy soil holds more stars and rock kilometers underground. By weight, too, they dominate. If you gathered all the animals on Earth, every insect, fish, bird, and mammal, every human. Bacteria alone aisle immeasurable trim on a world that is, in its bulk, microbial. And they had it first, for an unimaginably long time. Life appeared on Earth around 3.5 billion years ago, and for most of Abalexolus a latecomer, combo life has existed, the entire biosphere was invisible. In those billions of years, Bismamus invented almost every fundamental chemical, but an asu, fixed nitrogen from the air, living without oxygen at all. Everything about to tell the sop of life's chemistry. We inherit it from them. Draw the tree of all living things, and the surprise is where the animals sit. Plants, animals, and fungi are 3 small twigs at the very edge. The vast tree, most of the braid, is a corner of a far larger world we cannot see. First, we must correct an old prejudice. The word micro, for most people, means germ, means diseasey. This is backwards. Of the countless kinds of organisms, only in humans. The germs that make us sick are the rare exceptions, not the real. One more caution before we meet them. It is tempting to say microbes maintain the planet for life, as a perp that they do not. There is no plan, no intention, no service being performed. Each microorganism activity happens to run the cycles that keep Earth alive. The result looks designed. Chapter 2. The ones that made the air. If any organisms deserve to be called the most important microbes in the sea, invented the trick of splitting water with sunlight to make food, and released, as waste, a gas that would reduce these microbes bosque. When cyanobacteria began flooding the ancient oceans with oxygen, it was a catastrophe. Oxygen was poison to almost all the life that then existed, and its rise around 2.5 billion years compleximtion. We can read the moment it happened. As oxygen filled the seas, it reacted with dissolved iron, which rusted it and sank. Those banded rocks are the fingerprint when becomes placed there by ancient bacteria that changed the sky. Today, one kind of tiny marine cyanobacterium may be the most abundant photosynthetic organism on the whole planet. It is so small that 1 million fit in a drop of seawater, and there are more of them than almost anything else alive. Together with other floating microbes, these tiny drifter of the sea, the phytoplankton, the great forests get the credit, but about every second breath he gives own to trees, but to invisible cells in the surface of microbial, and mostly at sea. Among these drifters are the diatoms, microed intricate shells of glass skulls. They alone produce something like 1/5 of the oxygen Earth. When they die, their ground shells and pile up on this dung inside by boxes of glass. Other microbes build their armor not from glass but from chalk. Insect babes milky blues can mills from space. Over ages that is a taper saying to seeing when lecken can taste the what live uncountem the planet organism. Chapter 3. The ones that feed everything. Now the most important nutrient you have never thought about, nitrogen. Every protein in your body, every strand of your DNA is built with nitrogen. The air is nearly 4/5 nitrogen. You are bathed, docked in a fault. The 2 atoms in atmospheric nitrogen are held by when it takes ferocious energy, and industrial furnaces, no plant, no animal, no fungus can do it. For almost all of life, the vast nitrogen in the air is completely out of reach. Only certain bacteria and archaea can do it, can pull nitrogen out of the air and turn it into a form life can use. They possess a domain exquisitely delicate, that most shielded from oxygen in worthing mold. Some plants strike a bargain, use beans, grow special nodules on their roots, nitrogen-fixing bacteria inside them, feeding the microbe sugar, and it is an ancient trade agreement to where there's crops of years to enter to work. For most of history, the amount of life the land could support was by how much nitrogen these microbes could fix. Manufacture levase and the distinct the cancer justings in factories. It transformed agriculture and now feeds billions. So trace the nitrogen in your own body backwards. The atoms in your muscles, your ends, your genes were not lingo, earth gas in the sky imitate one, unlocked them. Without nitrate, literally what everything alive is built from. Chapter 4. The ones that recycle death. Life needs its builders, but it needs its recyclers just as much. Every living thing is made of borrowed atoms, and when it dies, those atoms must be returned, or life runs out of materials. The sophobos and lake undoubted since life and materials.
Imagine a world without them. The dead would not rot. Fallen leaves, fallen trees, fallen bodies would pile up century upon century, and the living would slowly starve if it lived. Decomposition is not decay for its own sake.
At the heart of this is carbon, the element every living thing. Microbes drive its great cycle, releasing it from dead matter back into the air known. This has kept the obioil of chemistry in balance for billion breath. The stage for much of this is the soil beneath your feet, the most crowded habitat on Earth. A single handful holds billions of bacteria, kilometers of full threads, and thousands of species, most of them never studied. One material resists nearly all decay: wood. Its toughness comes from lignin, a substance so hard to break down that almost nothing can emasculate to rot wood completely. Without these manada, dead trees would scissor rot decompose at all. This led to a striking idea. Perhaps a woodremans of years ago, before wood-rotting fungi had evolved, when the great gully did not ray. It is an elecator constatied and were buried, coven fungat as we brat settled. Even the great grazing animals cannot live without microbes. A cow cannot actually digest grass. What a cow really does is host a vast community of my special lime stomach, feed them grass and live off white digestion inside them. Chapter 5. The Third Domain. For most of the 20th century, life was the cut, pioneered to two great kingdoms, becurbism thick extinternamed, severant extraordinary, holther vivainenvan, as different herring advmirance and duaner. Among the archaea are the methanogens, which run a form of chemistry so ancient it may predate oxygen itself, producing methane as they live. They thrive in places without air, deep mud, wetlands, the guts of animals, sediments far below the sea. Many archaea and some bacteria are extremophiles. Leversh in boiling hot spol tassinal, they for enough Nelson blesher and a midvariantial can you wen sismon insin leifen, they see home. This changes the search for life beyond Earth. If microorganisms here thrive in boiling ox and harshwell of our solar system cannot be ruled out. And where like an eelsventor, they're looking for microbe in. Every few years, microbes are found somewhere previously thought sterile, kilometers down in solid rock, sealed in ancient ice, in the near vacuum of the upper. Each discovery pushes the boundary of where life can exist a little further out. There is a humbling admission to make. For over a century, microbiologists could only study the microbes that would grow in a laboratory dish, and the vast majority refused to. Woens de hindered them inifin efrig melbourne sea. Chapter 6. Life Without the Sun. For centuries, one rule of biology seemed unbreakable. All life is powered in the end by the sun. In 1977, a submersible descended to the black floor of the deep ocean and found something that should not have been there. Around cracks in the seafloor where scalding, mineral-rich water gushes from inside the earth, systems thrive in total darkness. The discovery astonished biologists. Here was a rich wing stamswing was microbes. At the base of this rispige eyes emsiger retzvof, stood a vatsternainsum addernd and hapschurstumly thingervingar, viding a of making and fent, and sub a mecking of anlo chemistry a billion years ago. The animals of the vents survive by making the same bargain we have seen again and again. The great red and tube worms and dede house billions of chemical-eating microbes inside their bodies, giving them shelter and raw materials return for food. The strangest frontier is beneath the ground. Deep inside the solid rock of these of crust, us illiterates down the host of roastabus van marmistry, seeping from the spalf, seep baros of stone, this deep by iosphere may hold bacteria. Between the sunless vents and the microbes buried in run, some skisher alone in the reach of sunlight entirely. It can work a bifata besta bilicum. Chapter 7. The Fungi and the Land. Return now to the land and to a partnership without which the green world could not exist. When plants first crept out of the water onto bare rock, hunt off struvanes of alone, what made the colonization possible was an alliance with fungi. The fungi threaded into the plants and reached out through the ground, gathering water and scarce minerals and delivering them to the plant, in exchange for the sugars the plant made her ships in the history of life, and turned bare stone into living ground. This is not ancient history. Today, the great majority of land plants, something approaching 9 in 10, still live in intimate partnership with fungi wrapped around or inside their roots. Its true root system, hunchit navalid individuals. These fungal threads can link one plant to another, forming the water mineralistics, but to which water, minerals, and even carbon compatible networks exists, and the resources ruthless of sturblast trees do. But here we must be careful. The popular image of wise old trees deliberately nurturing their young of a forest sharing resource is that of something like kindness runs far ahead of the evidence that reviews warned whether Sumter Bay under. One more thing the fungi hold. The largest living organism on Earth is Straver the Sora forest is not a whale of Mies hexameri, of its verse 1 years old. The bigot is invisible, underground, and quiet.
Chapter 8. Viruses, a Force of Nature.
We think of viruses only as agents of disease, but that is the smallest part of what they do. Viruses are a colossal ecological force, and nowhere more than in the sea, where they quietly govern the entire microbial world. Viruses are, by count, the most abundant biological entities on Earth. A single spoonful of seawater contains millions of them. The ocean as a whole holds a number so vast it defeats imagination, more virus particles than their ocean's virus, and they are relentless. Every single day, marine viruses kill a large fraction of all the bacteria in the ocean, and it is replaceable vast, the standard valve, is biological process on Earth. This mass killing is not destruction alone, it is circulation. Virus burst microbial cells attack carbon and nutrients pelkin microbes and mamhan connection draws down, so how the whole planet's climate food web. Viruses do something else profound. They carry genes from one host to another, splicing new abilities into the microbe. They reciclan, that in a their note we are like predatorsphere. They are one of the great sign by virus. So the virus deserves a second look. To us, in our own bodies, some viruses are a threat, and that is real, but a pillar of it, controlling populations, siling nutrients, moving genes, it would break.
Chapter 9. You are made of them.
The tiny structures that power every cell in your body, that turn your food and the oxygen you breathe into usable entrud, capture dexting digested of the bell, were powered by domesticated microbes. The same thing happened to make plants. The green structures inside a leaf that capture sunlight, the chloroplasts, were them once free-living Cianobacteria captured and kept by an ancient cell. This dissolves the line we started with. We are not separate from the microbial world, standing above it. We are built out of it. Ancient microbe and inside our every cell is our source of energy. Others in their trillions cover our skin and fill our life. It is one more arrangement of it. For all their importance, we have barely begun to know them. The great majority of microbial species have never been grown, never been named, never been studied. Every scoop of soil, every liter of seawater holds forms of here vingling true to sit at the center of evidence. They ran this planet for billions of years before any animal existed, and it would have leans more if every large creature vanished tomorrow. We, on the other hand, cannot last a season without equals. We are the dependents. So weigh it honestly. Remove all the large animals from the earth, and the biosphere, though poorer, the moyer, would still live. Remove the microorganisms, and every one of those cycles stop, and dissolve wind pyramids. You will never see them. You will go your whole life without meeting a single one of it was built by them. Every cycle that keeps planet alive is turned up, and the very cells you are made are were them.
Thank you for watching.